We finally made it. We're at our last large block. After this, it's just sashing and borders and your quilt will be done. Again, it's the 9 patch. We're going to start. Our first component is exactly like we did last month. It's just our square and a square using fabric 6 and fabric 1. Then our next one is a 4 patch using half square triangles. So I'm just going to go over real quick how to do a half square triangle. It's really easy. You're going to take your 2 fabrics, which are fabric 8, fabric 10, place them right sides together, draw your diagonal, then you're going to sew on each side of it. Once you've got it sewn, then you're just going to split it in half, take it to the ironing board. Whoops, I forgot. We need to square this up before we open it up. So we're going to take our triangle square up ruler, and again, we're going to line up our line with our sewing line, not our cutting line. And then I'm going to trim both of these down. Now I can take it to the ironing board. And I'm just simply going to press it to the dark side. Once I have that, follow the pattern and with how you set it up. So we're going to add to it our fabrics 3 and 4, which are on opposite corners. Make sure you get the right side up. We're going to place our half square triangle so that the darkest fabric is toward the center. Once you have this, you're simply going to sew these 2 together, these 2 together, then you will sew the 2 rows together, and you will have a completed 4 patch. Our last component is actually made of 2 parts. Our first thing is going to be just your basic flying geese like we have been doing before. We're going to be using fabric 6 and fabric 3. You should know how to do it by now, but we'll do just a quick review. We're going to take our large square and we're going to place the 2 smaller squares right sides down. Then I'm going to draw a line and then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the line. And once I have that, then I can cut the 2 apart and you end up with something that kind of looks like a heart. I have one that I've already pressed here. You're going to end up with 2 of these. Then you're going to take, for each of these, you're going to take your other square and you're just going to line it up on the bottom, draw your diagonal, and then sew a 1/4 inch on each side. Here's one already done. So now when I am done, I'm going to cut it in half, and then I can just press these little wings up. This is oversized, so you can use whatever your favorite ruler is to cut it down to the appropriate size. You're going to end up, you're going to need 4 of these to start the component. Now we're going to make our next flying goose. This is actually a 3-part flying goose because it has 3 different fabrics on it. So we're going to start with our square from fabric 4, and then we're going to have our square that's been cut in half, and this is from fabric 8. In your pattern, this will refer to this as piece 1 and piece 2. So if you orient your square like this, these 2 are actually going to be sewn like this. So Let's start out with the first one. You want to make sure that when you're lining them up, you see this edge right here? This edge needs to be lined up. So let's take the first one, and I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to go sew my 1/4 inch. And then I can take it to the iron, and I'm just going to press towards the dark. Now I'm going to take the other piece, and again, I'm going to flip it over, making sure to line up this edge, and I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch again. And what we're doing here is basically making the goose out of 3 different pieces of fabric. So now, see, this becomes the large part of my goose. Okay, now that we have our goose together, now it's time to apply the sky. Now I've got fabric 10, which was the square that we've cut on the diagonal. These are going to go in each of the corners here. So if I put this here, I'm going to flip it down. I'm going to line it up on this edge, and I'm going to line it up on that edge, and then I'm just going to sew my 1/4 inch. Once I have it sewn, I can just press towards the dark. Now remember, when you are sewing this together, that you are sewing 2 biased edges together, and you don't want to stretch them out. So just give it a little extra care. So now I take the other one, I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to line it up here on the bottom, and then I'm going to line it up here on the side, and I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch. After I've sewn my 1/4 inch, I'm going to press it. Now I have my oversized flying goose with the 3 different parts on it. I can go back, I can use my favorite ruler, and I can trim it down to the right side. Then what we're going to do, we're going to pretend this one has been cut down, is I'm going to rotate that one, and I'm going to take the bottom of the flying goose, line it up with the bottom of the other flying goose, and then I'm going to sew the 2 together so I end up with this component. So you actually end up with a square and a square. So now we have all 3 of our components. You're going to need to make 4 of these. Now we can put our 9 patch together. We're going to start with our center square, and then we're going to take our flying geese, and you want to make sure that the dark sky is towards the center. I only have 3 of these that are completely finished, so we'll just pretend that that one's there. And then I'm going to take my 4 patch, making sure that this piece is towards the center. And then it's just straight sewing our 9 patch together. And when we do that, we'll have flow blue done, and you will be done with your large blocks. So we'll see you next time, and we'll start then our borders that go on to our large blocks.